This is the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. How's it going? How you feeling? How you feeling, Rob, the engineer? I'm still digesting. Thanksgiving, I don't get it. It's supposed to be about eating the bird and being thankful, not stuffing yourself like a bird. And let me tell you, I ate like a pig. Too much food, too much cooking. Anyway, glad you could stop by here tonight. And if you're not feeling thankful now, you will after you hear from the first couple of authors we have on the show tonight. And these are stories based on real life experiences. Some of them, I'm not kidding you, they're going to blow your mind. We're going to begin with Lisa Taylor, who wrote The 13th Vow.
Yes, I did. It's about a young girl living in a home where she's tormented and tortured by her father, who is the preacher of the town. And it is set in a small southern backwood town in Louisiana about the 50s, the 60s, when things like this was not something that you talked about or discussed. And she felt that she couldn't get any help from anyone. She couldn't tell anyone. It was just her and her daddy's secret. And when her mom found out what was going on in the home, her mother chose to turn her back on her to gain her own freedom from this man because he was very possessive, very controlling. The mother couldn't go anywhere or do anything without him by her side. So she used that against him to gain her own freedom. She would ruin him, his family's reputation. There had always been a Bales preacher in the church in the town. And so when the daughter saw that she really didn't have anyone to turn to, on her 13th birthday, she vowed that she was going to end her torment and those who tormented her. She has a birthday party that she throws for herself in the church basement. She was never allowed to have birthdays. She had a little sister, Angel, that she wanted to protect so she wouldn't have to go through any of the stuff that Josie had to go through. So she gets them all there. She lures them down to the basement, and she tells each and every one of them what they had done to her, how it was wrong. She didn't feel safe in her home. She didn't feel safe at her grandparents' home. She didn't feel safe in church because some of the church members had helped her father cleanse her soul. So they had special prayer sessions in the basement to cleanse her. So she just went around the room and told each and every one of them they were going to have to be sent back to hell because that's where evil comes from. And she had been taught that all of her life from her preacher father. So she was just basically doing what she thought she had to do to get rid of evil, to save herself and her little sister. And so she got rid of them.
Ooh, man, this sounds evil. This sounds like Rosemary's Baby.
The story itself is a made-up story. The contents of the story are life events.
What do you mean?
My life events.
Oh, are you the main character?
I am both main characters. Josie's story is my story as a child. Rachel's story, which is Josie's mother, is my adulthood life and in an abusive relationship. My story turned it into a storybook, and that's how I came up with the storyline.
So is it possible that what this little girl does in this book is what you wished you could have done?
Yes.
To all the people who were mean to you?
Yes.
Wow.
I just started writing the story, and it just spilled out. So I don't know, if this is just my way of releasing a lot of pinned-up childhood hostility or what. But I started writing the story basically on a dare, kind of one of those situations where you can't write a story, and I'm like, yes, I can. And so I did, and it just started spilling out of me. As soon as I started writing it, it just all started clicking together, and it just came together as a story. So,
have people read it?
Yes.
Are you blowing them away?
I'm getting very good reviews. They cry, they get mad, they want to come and hug me. I had one lady tell me that. She goes, I just want to come out and give you a hug. So it's touching people, which that's what I wanted. I just want people to know if you're in a relationship and it's gone south, get out. Because it doesn't get any better. It only gets worse. So you need to save yourself. A lot of people stay in relationships thinking someone's going to come along, someone's going to save them, someone's going to get them out. You've got to do it yourself. And once you get out, don't go back. Remember why you got out in the first place. That's my message. So the newspaper here in my town, they put a big article in it. Local paper called the Disclosure, they did a big write-up for me, too. And it had been on the radio here in my hometown. So it's getting out there.
Okay, Lisa. Well, you know what? They say success is the best revenge. All right. And it's certainly better than, taking people out. And by the way, Lisa is writing a trilogy based on her true life horror story. And it really is. So I expect she's going to be back here on the Page Publishing Book Club. Our next author, also ready to share a personal experience, one that involves a man who at one time was a household name and for all the wrong reasons. David Bolton wrote A Hike Around the Lake.
Yeah, well, it's when I was a kid, I was molested by John Gacy.
John Wayne Gacy?
Infamous pedophile that killed, I think, 32 young boys, teenage boys, back in the 60s and 70s, and he was put to death. Anyway, before he started his chain of murders, I ran into him when I was vacationing with my mother and my stepfather in Wisconsin. Of course, he was unknown at that time. I was only 10 and he was about 16. And he was working at the resort we were at for 1 week, and he molested me, and I couldn't tell anybody because my mother was, she wasn't a very understanding lady at all, and she didn't like bad news, even if it was, something like this. She just didn't want to hear it. And I knew this at a young age, not to upset Mom. Yeah. Anyway, a kid should be able to have at least one parent to confide in and to trust and to tell something like this to. But I never had that. Anyway, this is what happened, and I didn't tell anybody until I was an adult, many years into adulthood. And back in the Vietnam era, back in '64, I joined the Navy. I still hadn't told anyone, and when I got out, I finally told a girlfriend I was going out with, and at this time I didn't realize who it was. I realized who it was on, I think the day was May 10th, 1994. I came home from work, and I turned the news on. John Gacy was going to be put to death that evening. And I showed his face one more time on the screen, on the TV screen, and it just hit me. I said to myself, that was him. He had the same round face. His name was John. And what I did was to try to confirm this. A few days later, I called up William Kunkel, who was one of the prosecutors, and he talked to me. I told him who I was, and I said, I believe that I was molested by John Gacy when I was a kid. Can you tell me if he ever spent time in Wisconsin? And he had researched Gacy quite a bit so he could prosecute him and know as much about him as he could find out. And he said, yes, in fact, he did spend time working in little places over the border in Wisconsin when he was a kid to make money and so forth. And so that was all I needed. I spent 2 tours to Vietnam in the Navy, and when I got out, I was only 20 years old and a veteran, and because I went in so early, so I was only 20 when I was discharged, and I worked for several years. I went into the vending business. I started playing with the real estate and so forth, and I was going out with this girl, and it was in the 80s, and she was a well-educated woman, and she noticed traits in me veterans have when they've been through war that I didn't even notice. I wasn't even aware of my jumpiness and my irritability sometimes, mood swings, things that are nice to be around. So she suggested that I go to the VA hospital if I hadn't been there before and get a head tune-up. So I did that. I've been going ever since. They determined, it's the first time I ever heard the term PTSD. That was kind of a new term. Years before that, they used terms like shell shock, after many trial and error antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications, I finally found the right combination that allows me to function and not lose my temper and just go through life groovy. I've been seeing shrinks all these years, and then one of my shrinks suggested I see a psychologist. She wanted to know about my family life before I went into service, so I told her. Then after over a year, I finally told her about this Gacy thing. She said I shocked her when I told her about John Wayne Gacy, and she was very comforting and understanding, and just pretty much let me open up on my own. And after that, I felt somewhat of a cleansing. So I decided to put my memoirs on paper. So I did that, and after a lot of corrections and so forth, I decided to make a short story, a fictional short story about my events up in Wisconsin when I was 10 years old. So that's what I did, and that brought you and me together, Alice.
Geez, David, what a story you have.
When I put the two and two together, that the guy that Melissa knew was Gacy, I started reading up on him, and it wasn't long after I had the encounter with him that he started killing kids a year or two later. So I could have very well been the first one, you know. So there's a lot more to it, and I don't want to make you sick, so I'm not going to go into details. But there's more to it, and it's not pretty.
Why did you go with Page Publishing?
No real reason. I went online and I got the names of many publishing companies. And to tell you the truth, I don't know anyone who's done anything like this. But you had the nicest brochure. That's it. I mean, that's the long and short of it.
The nicest brochure. I can't believe you just said that. It's not the first time I've heard that. There's a lot of people that say it was the brochure that made them go with Page. And, you know, luckily they had a great experience after that. But this is some story you've got, David, and you know it's the kind of story I could see being made into a movie. I mean, no problem. Thanks to a horrible man, and you know, I just hope you can find a way to be happy and enjoy your life. I mean, you seem like you're doing okay. David is 67 years old now, and he says he's doing much better since he's gotten help working through his issues, and part of that was writing this book, A Hike Around the Lake. Next up, another true story. It's called A Life of Resiliency by Joseph Boyu. And Joseph, you told me earlier that a lot of people have asked you why you picked that title.
Touched by an Angel was already taken. The book is dedicated to my late wife, who passed away a year ago.
What happened?
We were expecting our first child. I had been gone all year deployed in the Middle East, and we were expecting our first child, and all the excitement and everything. But everything went wrong, and that was the last time I saw my wife again.
Oh I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say. Did your son survive?
Yes. We just celebrated his first birthday a couple weeks ago. So yes, there's a lot of things that are in the book, not just what I endure in West Africa. So now you can see that it is deeper than what is on the first few pages of the book. So yes.
What did you endure in West Africa?
The civil war that lasted about over 12 years, and at the point in time I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I was at the right age of being recruited as a child soldier. Dad did not want any part of for any of us, so we had to flee the country, and we moved to neighboring countries, the Ivory Coast and Ghana, and lived on a refugee camp for about 6 years or so before finally coming to the United States in the late 90s.
How old were you when you came to the U.S.?
14 or 15.
What did you end up doing?
Graduated high school, went up to college, went up to Thiel College, as located in Greenville, Pennsylvania. Graduated with a psychology degree before joining the Air Force. So I've seen so much, and I've been to so many places. I just came from the Middle East about a little over a year ago. So all these things are written down. What
was the turning point that made you say, I have to write this down?
For my age, I have seen a lot more than the average 32-year-old. You know, I've endured more than the average person. I was stationed in Mississippi at Keesler Air Force Base. That's where I met my wife, Veronica, and we got married. And then shortly, I got reassigned to New Mexico. And my wife was one of the people who knew who I told stories about growing up, what we had to go through. When the war first came to Liberia, that's where I was born. And the war first came to Liberia, what we had to do to evade the rebel forces, and surviving gunfires and bombing going off, and just killings, the maiming of bodies, the raping of the women, and the burning of villages and towns, and just senseless violence. So we had to leave the country. So we saw a lot when I met my wife, and she was amazed by just my story. And then she told me, and this is something that the world needs to hear. You have an amazing story, and I always wanted to write a book at some point in my career. What I was going to do is wait till my retirement from the Air Force, and I still got about 12 more years to go. I told me you have to write about the story because it's amazing. I think people would love to read the story of what you've overcome so much than an average person, and you just bounce back and always find a way to improve yourself and get better. So when she passed away, it's like something just hit me. Like I had to honor my wife in a special way. So I said, I will write this book now, and I won't wait any longer. I decided I will start now to honor my wife's memory. That's what she wanted me to do. So I started writing.
Joseph, you offer such a perspective here, right? Growing up in West Africa, then coming here to the United States as a teenager. Talk about culture shock. Joseph told me that one of the things he couldn't believe when he came here from Liberia was the way kids talk to their teachers. He said that blew him away because in Africa, you don't talk back to your teachers. Like, these kids don't even think about it. At 32, you've seen more than most people will see in a lifetime. A great book in your wife's memory, Joseph. Good luck with your little boy, okay? We're going to take a quick break. We're going to lighten it up a little bit when we come back, all right? This is the Page Publishing Book Club. Don't you go anywhere.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then now's the time to call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099 and do it immediately. You see, they're looking for authors of all types of books. And unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review most of the books submitted to them. And they'll even give you their feedback. And if they like what they read, Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, and other outlets. They'll handle everything: copyright protection, printing, cover art, publicity, and editing. So if you've written a novel, a children's book, a cookbook, inspirational work, a book of poetry, or biography, and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. For your free author submission kit, call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099.
Welcome back to the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini. I told you we were going to lighten it up when we came back. I keep my promises. We are going west, young men and women, to California to meet Mercer Boyd, who wrote The Adventures of the Mer Family. Mer being short for mermaid, right?
I've read a lot of stories, and I've seen mermaids here and mermaids there. I wanted to put a twist on the whole idea. There's alligators, crocodiles. I said, hey, let me try mermaids. And so I put this twist on it and gave it the African-American appearance with the dreadlocks. Not only that, every time you see something about mermaids, always one or two here. I said, no, let's make it a family. Mother, father, daughters, and sons.
So what's the message of the book?
The story to it is a rescue. They have a rescue mission where they rescue marine life that is having problems. This one had to do with the baby seal. And also it has a little educational feature to it, telling a little about marine life and the things that goes on in the ocean. So it does have a fictitious story, but it also supposed to have a little educational feature to it. And the next book that follows will be of the same idea of educating. I like to put a little education into the background of whatever I'm writing about.
Well, what inspired you to do this now? Did you work near the ocean? Are you...
I'm from the Caribbean. I'm a West Indian. I'm Jamaican. And I know a lot about, the marine life that exists in the Caribbean. And I'm living here in California. And there are so many incidents regarding marine life out here. In the book, I have my villain, Jacko, which is a great white shark. And we have a lot of incidents in the ocean here regarding great white sharks. So a bunch of things put together gave me this scenario. As a matter of fact, over the years, I've always wanted to do something like this, right? But bringing up my family, I've had to work 2 or 3 jobs. Never had the time to really sit and cogitate stories. So upon my retirement, I said, let me put this together. As a matter of fact, I wrote this and sat in it for over a year before I decided to put it out. And, because the idea to me was unique. Like, I more or less feared putting it out, not knowing who to trust in doing it. I said, hey, the information about the company that I'm dealing with, I said, well, let me take a chance and put it out there. And boom, it seemed to catch on. Because a lot of people that I've spoken to that are of color, when I mention to them and show them the cover of the book, they're, wow, this is unique. They've never seen it. And immediately they want to order the book.
People just like the way it looks.
Correct. Well, not just the way it looks, but the character, the Afro characters that are involved in the story. Because they've never seen anything like this before. As I said, it's unique. The whole idea is unique.
Great. Do you have grandchildren and children?
I have 6 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren.
Are they loving this book?
Oh, yes, they really do. As a matter of fact, my granddaughters, they've read my manuscript before I even send it off. And they gave me the necessary criticism, what I should do and how I should end it. And they're very instrumental in helping me.
You're a winner already.
Yes. Regardless of what a monetary thing this might bring about, I'm a winner because my family loves it and my family's close friends, they all like it.
African-American mermaids with dreadlocks. You got to love that. And how about the support Mercier is getting from his family? I mean, what's better than that? And Mercier's just getting started. So we're looking forward to what mission his little creatures are going to go on next. Thanks, Mercier. Finally, I want you to listen really closely to this next interview and tell me if you're not as surprised as I was to find out the backstory on Jackie LeDuc. She wrote The Demonic Eyes.
My book is about a young boy named Damien Winters. He has some struggles. He has mental illnesses. He gets bullied at school. His father is an alcoholic, and his mother died when he was really young. And he has 2 friends. One of them puts him in a band to try to turn his life around. And the other one has this mysterious secret that she's kept her whole life, and she just moved into town, and he finds out that her secret affects not just her life, but his life.
Sounds like a good mystery.
Thank you.
What did you base it on?
A lot of the ideas that I get from my stories come from my dreams.
You just go to bed at night and these things come to you?
Yes.
So have you written before?
I have one book that I finished that has not been published yet, and I'm under the works of critiquing it.
So have you written for years? Is this something you've always done?
I've been writing ever since I was 6 years old, and I started writing legitimate books at 12. This is the first time published.
So what made you finally get published?
I've always been searching to get published since I finished my first book at the age of 12. And I tried different things. I queried agents and different publishing companies until Page Publishing picked up my story.
How old are you now?
I'm 15.
You're 15 years old?
Yes.
I would have never guessed that. You sound like a grown woman.
Thank you.
Oh, my gosh. So you're a published author at 15. That's pretty amazing.
Thank you. Page was very interested in my story, and they sent me this packet on all the things that they would offer me, and I thought it was a very good deal. And I really liked what they did with the book. I really loved the cover of the story, and I'm very happy with how it turned out.
Do you write in school?
I used to write in school, but now because I'm like in 3-4 honors classes, I don't really get time to write. I write now after school, after my homework.
Are your friends buying your book?
Yes. I've had very good luck with it. I've had 2 book signings so far, and I have a few more scheduled.
Who's setting up the book signings?
I am.
Tell me how you're doing that.
The first one, I knew the manager of Barnes & Noble previously because I talked to her before the book came out. So she already had an idea that I wanted to set up a book signing. So I went there, and I kind of talked about setting it up, and she said, okay, well, we'll release your story and tell everybody that you're going to have one. So that's how that one came up. And the second one that I had, one of my friend authors, Huntley Fitzpatrick, had a signing there. And that's when we met the owners of the store, and they kind of talked to me, and I told them that I was an author, and they said, how about we set up a signing for you?
You know, I can't tell you how many adults I talk to who are reluctant to go out and do these signings, but don't you think that's a great way to go?
It is great. I mean, you get to meet so many people and also get your book out there, and you get to talk about your writing and your story and just, inspire people to do the same.
Your family must be so proud.
Yes, they are.
You're so to the point. You're cracking me up. So, do you wake up in the middle of the night and start taking notes?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I have these, amazing dreams that I just immediately wake up and I have to write them down so I don't forget them.
So I take it you're going to go to college and be an English major, maybe?
Yes, I want to be a creative writer major.
Well, I think you're on your way. Do you have any advice for writers?
My advice to writers is to never give up on it. No matter how many people tell you that your idea is not good or that you're never going to be published, still do it and continue to write every single day. And don't focus so much on getting published. Be focused on making your writing better, because if you make your writing better each day, somebody will pick you up and represent you.
15 years old. This girl is 15 years old. Jackie LeDuc, writing books, setting up her own book signings. She's positive. She's focused. A great inspiration, don't you think, Rob? I mean, she's a great inspiration. If she can do it, you can definitely do it. All right, Rob Baratz on the other side of the glass, my faithful engineer, is telling me it's time to wrap up another edition of the Page Publishing Book Club. Get writing so you can come in here and keep me company. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? It gets very lonely in here. It's just me and Rob. Get writing. The holidays are right around the corner. All right? Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Oh, you might want to get some shopping done, too. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then now's the time to call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099 and do it immediately. You see, they're looking for authors of all types of books. And unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review most of the books submitted to them. And they'll even give you their feedback. And if they like what they read, Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, and other outlets. They'll handle everything. Copyright protection, printing, cover art, publicity, and editing. So if you've written a novel, a children's book, a cookbook, inspirational work, a book of poetry, or biography, and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. For your free author submission kit, call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099.